So push down into the shins, and as you do that, allow the spine to round as you weightlessly float into cat pose. That's when your spine is arched. And then we'll meet in cat pose, and we're going to jump rope the spine a few times. So to practice this, first stay in cat and just shift the weight from knee to knee. And actually at the same time, hand to hand. So towards the whole right side to the whole left side. Notice how this takes the rounding to the lateral edges of the body, not just the middle. And then the next time you're shifted all the way to the right, start to gently melt the belly down and reach the heart forward for cow pose, shifted onto the right side, and then start to shift from side to side in cow pose, just like we did in cat. And we'll put that all together, so the next time you shift to the left, push down into the left hand and left knee to round the spine into cat, and then shift over to the right cat. Drop into cow and shift back to the right. And then once you've got the hang of it, you can start to smooth it out, moving really nice and slow. Letting the whole body create this barrel shape. The next time you sway to the left, reverse the order and take your time. Make sure you're breathing. And notice what your neck is doing. I have a tendency to drop my head down, which isn't great. So if anyone else needs the awareness to just keep the head an extension of the spine, so the back of the neck is nice and long, the gaze is slightly ahead of the hands, maybe just a few inches. And then come back to center, send the hips to the heels, slide the forearms forward, palms face up, and you can gently massage the forehead or gently massage the wrists, whatever feels good as a counter pose. And then let the pelvis get really heavy so it starts to drop towards the heels. Push down into the shins and slowly let one vertebra at a time stack. So you're seated on your heels. Push down into the shins and float into kneeling, and then turn 3/4 towards me, so just like 15 degrees, just so it's a little easier to see me. Bring your hands to your hip creases, and we'll send the hips back into a chair-like action, but then we'll curl the pelvis under. I'll actually turn so you can see. We'll curl the pelvis under, push down into the shins to slowly rise up. You're doing it right if your quadriceps get tired from this action. So from chair, curl the pelvis under, push down into the shins to slowly come back up, and now we'll add on. From the top position, we'll keep shoulders, hips, knees in a straight line and take a little rock back. This is my favorite psoas strengthener. And then we'll float back up and we'll repeat from the hip curl. So chair pose, and then tuck the tailbone, push down into the shins to float up, letting the spine slowly lengthen, and then take your rock back. And now that you know it, you can go at your own pace, but I do recommend moving really slowly here. Try to feel equal weight in both shins. Usually there's one leg that's a little stronger and wants to over-dominate, so see if you can balance it out, or at least observe that pattern. We'll just do one more. And then we'll all meet at kneeling, and for me that's like a surprising amount of work. So just pause for a moment and just absorb and observe any sense of warmth. And we'll be doing some stuff on our knees, so I invite you to grab your blanket. Even if you don't have sensitive joints, let's treat ourselves. And take a moment to shift the weight into one knee and then the other. And then let the shifting get less and less until you find a place that feels like completely balanced between both legs. And that means the signals coming up from the legs keep the pelvis completely balanced, the core completely balanced. Allowing the shoulder girdle to rest on the rib cage equally. And then pause when you find that place that feels balanced to you. Now is a great spot to have a drink of water and to go to the second track, which also has the word snow in it. I can't remember what it is though exactly. Okay, from kneeling, let's step the left foot forward in a short 90-90 lunge. Bring the hands to the hips and take a couple of really small hip circles just to be aware of the orientation of the pelvis, letting the quads wake up, letting the hamstrings wake up, and finding support on the inside of the thigh as well. And then when you've found a nice place for the pelvis to rest, scoop the arms up and take a couple of nice, easy breaths here. And then start to push down into the right knee, letting that downward pressure let the whole right side of the body grow. Drop the bottom arm, and we'll use an exhale to float the bottom arm. Let's try that a couple of times on your own breath cycle. So the inhale drops the arm, the exhale floats it, and you should get a little taller and longer as the arm floats. Once you've got the hang of that, the next time the arm drops, come up to neutral, and then exhale, do it all at once, side bending and floating. And we'll take a couple with that whole thing together. Bring some awareness to the front foot and front knee and let it stay in the same place. So even as the body moves, there's a sense of stability through the legs. Okay. And the next time you start to come up, lower the right hand over to the right. Allow the left leg to slide past center so you can place your hands down for a modified pigeon. Keep the knee where it is. You don't need to swivel it or anything. And start to circle the hips. And then pause at center. Shift the weight into the left hand. Reach the right arm forward and then up and back. Opening through that whole right side. Take a couple of those circles and try to feel how the movement of the arm relates to the movement of the rib cage and how that relates to the pelvis. The next time the arm circles and comes down, we'll have two options for transitions here. The first option is to just slide the left knee in, come up, and then step the left foot forward. We'll do the more complicated transition in a second. So let's all do that one first. And we'll be going right into our side bend from there. So you can take a couple with the arm pulse like we practiced. And then the next time you come up, the right hand sweeps, left leg slides all the way back. This time we go right into our circling pigeon with the right arm circling into that right leg. Take a couple of circles. And then the right hand plants. Now you can either step the left knee forward in line with the right or step it all the way forward right into our reaching side bend. Just make sure that feels okay on the right knee because it is a big leap. Take a couple of your side bends and we'll do this 2 more times at our own pace. So when you're ready, you'll slide the foot back into pigeon. 1 or 2 arm circles, whatever feels good to you. And then either slide the left knee forward or push down with the right knee and step it all the way forward right into the side bending lunge. Take a couple of the side bending pulses. And then last one. On this last one, if you want to swivel the shin slightly, you can by lifting the front knee, swiveling the shin only with the strength of the hip. Don't use your hand. And then take 1 more arm circle in that deeper position if the body's craving it. Plant the hand, lunge, and we'll meet in the side bend of the lunge. Bring the left hand to the left hip, and we'll add some shearing of the right side of the body, gently rotating the heart down. And then rotating the heart open. And for these shearing actions, we really want this to translate all the way down into the right hip and even the right outer thigh. So it is in the rib cage, but it's so much bigger than that. So try to feel that gentle rotation going all the way down towards the knee as these layers of muscle glide on one another. And pause, relax the arm, and we are actually going to come to standing before we do the second side, just so you can feel what just happened in your body. So relax the arms forward, slide the right foot up, bend the knees deeply into your Anjaneyasana. You can sway the hips a little if that feels good. And then come up your favorite way. If you're not sure, my favorite way is to drop my sits bones, push my pelvis forward, and slowly roll up. Don't do that if you have arthritis. Float the arms. Maybe even add in an arm circle. And then pause in Tadasana. Close the eyes if that feels safe. Notice the discrepancy between sides. And then go for a little walk around your space, just noticing the right side of the body. We did a lot of work, some pigeons on the right side, some awesome lunges, and then that shearing. So notice any sense of freedom, spaciousness. And then make your way back to the mat. And I guess, why don't we, as long as we're doing this, swap the blanket so that when we do the second side, it's easier to see me. We'll meet in kneeling. And we'll do another round of our pelvic curls and our rock backs, because it is kind of a tricky movement, and sometimes the body gets it better the second time. So from kneeling, hands to the front of the pelvis, start to hinge the hips, and then tuck the tailbone under, push down into the shins, letting the hips slowly roll up. Once you've made it to the top, bend the knees, rocking back, and then float to center. We'll repeat or continue at your own pace. Make sure you're breathing. And I'm being a bad example. You don't have to hinge quite so far, especially if it feels hard or asymmetrical. Try less. That will help your body understand the movement. Then you can load it more. Okay, the next time you're kneeling, pause there and hopefully, okay, I think I got it. Shift the weight into the left knee, step the right foot forward into your 90-90 lunge. Pause for a moment and then start to circle the hips just so you have more awareness of the attachments in the back leg up into the pelvis. So noticing the inner left thigh, the front of the left thigh, the outside, the back. And maybe the connections of the pelvis into the upper core, the side bodies, the low back, the deep navel area. And then find what feels centered for you. float the arms and take a couple of breaths nice and easy. Make sure the shoulders are soft, so it's almost like your shoulder girdle just resting on the rib cage effortlessly. And then we'll play with our side bend. So push down into the left knee, let the body start to reach up and lengthen up and over to the right, feeling a unity through the whole left side of the body. And then drop, right arm. Use your next exhale to hover the right arm and notice how that brightens the core. And then inhale to release. Take a few pulses on your own. And the next time the right arm goes to drop, bring the torso up to neutral. And then as you exhale, the arm floats as you side bend. So we make it a little more complicated. And inhale, arm drops, center. Exhale, float and bend. For me, when I do this in unison, that's when the magic really happens, when I can really feel the connectivity of my legs into my core. And it's really not a bunch of muscles moving me, but really a unified force. Everything works together. And the next time you side bend, you're welcome to breathe there for one breath. And then as you gently come out of it, let the left hand plant, slide the right foot back, setting up for pigeon. And we'll start with just some hip circles here and try to press down with the back toes and the front knees, so there's a sense of the pelvis really floating. What really opens our hips is when they're strong and balanced. We don't need to stretch our hip flexors. Circle the opposite direction. And then level the pelvis, shift the weight into the right hand, take the left arm forward, up and back, rotating. And try to feel how the rib cage is pulling on the pelvis, how the two are connected. We don't want to just move from the rib cage. The next time the arm circles down, we'll first take our option 1 transition where right knee slides in, we come up to kneeling, and then right leg continues, so we're back in the lunge on the same side. Float the arms, Anjaneyasana, drop the right arm, and then with your exhale, side bend and hover the arm. Take one more. Try to feel all the way down into the left knee. And then as you come out of it, hand goes right to the earth, foot slides back. Once you're in pigeon, shift the weight into the right hand and let the left arm circle 1 or 2 times, depending on your pace. The next time the hand plants, you can either come up to kneeling, or you can just power into the left knee to step the right foot all the way forward, going into the side bend. Please honor your body. One is not better than the other. They're just options. And then come out of the side bend right into your circling pigeon. Last round. When you come into your next pigeon, you have the option to hover the front knee, swivel the shin with the strength of your hip socket alone, or the muscles in the hip socket, and then take one slightly deeper pigeon. If you're taking the deeper pigeon, point the knee forward before you transition to the lunge. And once you're in the lunge, right hand to hip, and we add the shearing, which is just the gentle rotation forward and back. And kind of like the tug of war that we did on the floor before, try to feel how the rib cage pulling forward pulls the pelvis forward, pulls the outer thigh forward, and then vice versa as the rib cage opens. And then come to center. Release the hands down inside of the right foot. Tuck back toes. Hop the back foot forward. Bend the knees deeply. Pause in Uttanasana. Let the pelvis get really heavy. It's fine to sway the hips or shift the weight from foot to foot if the body's craving that. And then come up your favorite way as long as there's no pain. Heel toe the feet underneath the hips and pause. Now noticing the left side of the body or the body as a whole.